is an RPG title for the SNES that comes completely out of left field and manages to turn the genre on its head. It's Earthbound from developers APE and Hal Labs. Earthbound takes everything you know and love about RPGs and turns it completely on its head and introduces more of a light-hearted, humorous style, but also is a lot more involving than many others I have played, and perhaps may well be one of the most original and unusual games ever to come out for the Super Nintendo. Whilst the core elements require that you do all the usual things in a game of this genre, such as levelling up, earning money, buying weapons and visiting towns, and of course talking to NPCs, it's the last element that is fundamental to progression in this game, as certain important puzzles or storylines won't resolve or progress unless you talk to absolutely everyone in an area, and more often than not you will have to speak to certain characters multiple times. The thing is though, every single person you speak to will say something that you wouldn't expect. Many break the fourth wall, say some random funny comments, and by working in this manner, the game cleverly hooks you in, making the world of Earthbound and its inhabitants seem more real than most RPGs. You start the game and play as a young boy who learns that a meteorite has crashed in the hills near his home, and upon investigation it leads him on a quest to become essentially the chosen one, who must eventually team up with 3 other people who are all destined to stop an evil nightmarish alien creature called Gygus. So you'll be roaming around at first pretty weak and vulnerable to attack, but as you engage in random battles you become a lot stronger and tactile, earning not only more hit points but also magical attacks, which unlock and become stronger and much more ferocious the more you fight. Every hero in an RPG seems to have a sword, right? It's kind of like what you do, it's like a calling card. Well, in Earthbound, the main hero and his party can carry baseball bats, slingshots, frying pans and toy guns, etc. The mere fact that the devs decided to change the formula makes the game feel a lot fresher for me. Plus, the grinding is much more rewarding here, meaning that you won't be working yourself to death for hours trying to earn enough money to gain the next important weapon, armor, piece or item. The game is extremely generous when you win a fight, giving you far more experience points and cash than you would need or normally get in a traditional RPG, and this also means that you can level up and make swifter progress at the same time. Whilst this is a good thing, there are occasions when the random battles do become a little annoying, because in this game when you go into most towns you do need to spend a lot of time there, again making sure you are speaking to everyone, visiting shops and solving puzzles. So, as you'll be spending a lot of time in these areas, monsters can even attack you here, and this is a real pain because the story and tasks are incredible, and being interrupted when you know what you have to do and are about to do can really disrupt the game. Now don't get me wrong, the battles themselves are really well done here and again are different and original, but I kind of wish the battles were more like Secret of Mana, where you can choose to fight, as this would put a lot more emphasis on the ebb and flow of the story and the game itself. Earthbound does have a ton of bosses to fight, and the majority of them go down surprisingly easy once you have leveled up enough. Again, this game occasionally throws them right at you when you wouldn't expect, most of the time. Making comparisons to games like Legend of Zelda and even Silent Hill for example, you are given a clear indication in these games when a boss fight is to occur. In Zelda it's the boss door in the dungeon, whilst in Silent Hill there's usually a big build up or cutscene. In Earthbound there are 8 sanctuaries that you need to find, and you do have to fight a boss, which is indicated by a ball of light, so you'll always know when you have to fight one. However, these are not the only bosses in the game, and sometimes you'll be wandering along and the game is like, okay, boss time. Now, I enjoyed all of the boss fights apart from Belch. This game kind of clues in the player a lot about what items are needed, but neglects to tell you that in order to beat Belch, you need some fly honey, which is found in a trash can after you fight the Boogie Tent boss in Threed. It's no trouble to go back and get it, but I really don't know why the developers would have done that. If you don't have the fly honey, I think Belch is pretty much unbeatable. And there's also the final boss Gygus, and I won't spoil how to beat him, but it's not done in the traditional way, and it took me a lot of time to actually do, and I was up half the night. From research I conducted about Earthbound, apparently upon its release it wasn't very popular and kind of flew under the radar, and I think mostly due to the fact it looked and played different from its counterparts, and many people probably didn't feel it was good enough. Luckily, as the years rolled on, Earthbound has a real appreciation and respect from a massive fan base, which has helped this game become more reputable and something of a hidden gem. So let's now talk about the graphics. I mean, they are very cartoony, cutesy, and remind me a lot of the Peanuts cartoon or comic strip by Charles Schulz. Everything is simplified from enemies to NPC'S, and this I think is why the game is just so good in its visual style. I like how so much effort has gone into the various towns you go into, with many houses and buildings to visit, and each one looks extremely impressive. I just couldn't believe how large and impressive some towns were, and would end up getting lost, forgetting where I was supposed to go. I actually think that getting lost was a good thing because it kind of echoes real life. You know, you go to a place you've never visited before and need directions or lose your way, and I think it was done purposely by the developers. Again, nothing is wasted in each town, with everyone you speak to having something to say. No matter how far you get in this game, everything just looks like something a child would imagine, which I think was a great way to go. This is a weird analogy, but you play as a bunch of kids on this massive adventure with, again, simple looking towns, and some of the non-playable characters refer to you as kids and remind you that you are. Yet at the same time, you must earn approval from some of the same people by solving important problems, such as defeating zombies in a town or even a sea monster. So a bunch of kids get together and save the world may well have been done before in other games, movie and media, and the characters probably mature a lot more in them. But in Earthbound, I just feel that no matter how mature the story gets, the game always reminds you that you are kids, and this keeps things a lot more consistent. Even the way you save your game is different here. Rather than be able to save right away unless you're playing on a SNES Classic Mini, you need to make use of telephones scattered all over the world and phone your dad, who not only saves your game but deposits money into your bank account to withdraw depending on how many monsters you have beaten. That's right, this game has you use an ATM card to take money out of a cash machine just to buy stuff. Now that is original and cool. One thing you need to know is that Earthbound is very long and you get a lot of bang for your buck, but it's not the sort of RPG that you could realistically finish in a weekend and will require at least a week or two to finish. Make sure that you have plenty of spare time as you will need it. I like to try and get a regular review up each week and thought I could do the same with Earthbound and speed through it. How wrong I was. It took me the best part of nearly 2 weeks just to get through and to try and get this video done. I have to say that Earthbound is a game I never grew up with, but one which I heard so many great things about. I easily think it's one of the best RPGs ever, and it's such a shame that upon its first release a lot of people didn't really know how to take it due to its look and the fact it does borrow some core elements from similar games in the genre, but it does everything else in its own style and plays by its own rules. So was there anything I didn't like about Earthbound? Well, I already mentioned the Belch boss fight, but there were just a few things which really annoyed me. Whenever you buy items, you can only buy one at a time. So say for example I want to buy 5 of the same items right away, I simply can't do that. I have to buy one after another, and this means I have to go through the same menus again just to buy the same item, and this was very time consuming and confusing. Also, and this might be a bit nitpicky, I did have a lot of problems with the pyramid. Now the puzzle itself wasn't a problem to solve, it was the fact that every time I tried to stand on a switch, I would get ambushed by random respawning enemies who would not leave me alone. Again, the developers should have just let you decide when you want to fight and not the other way around. In conclusion, Earthbound is a must-play title for the SNES or SNES Classic Mini. It's a lengthy game with some sublime gameplay, excellent music and controls that feel really smooth and responsive, with the menus easy to access and navigate. Also, the storyline takes you on this massive journey with many unexpected twists and turns, having you switch characters occasionally and completing tasks fundamental to progression. However, Earthbound does this with a lot of fun, humour, style and panache, and just introduces things you just wouldn't expect to find in an RPG. And that is indeed its strength and why it's worth playing today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. If you have enjoyed it, then why not subscribe, as you'll really be helping my YouTube channel to grow, and you will be instantly notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be really interested to hear what you think of this game in the comment section below. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon for another video. Take care.